Hey readers, writers, and friends, Book Badger here, and today we are talking about The Floating World by Axie Oh. It was published by Faywell and Friends, which is ultimately a Macmillan property, in 2025. It was pushed very hard at its release by both Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I got multiple emails about this being the thing. This was a book of the month somewhere. And they were very, very excited for this book, saying that it was such a deeply built world. And I just, as you can see from the number of book darts, I have thoughts. But before we get into all that, today's random words are like, share, subscribe, unobtainable. So, what does the book have to say about itself? Well, it's just got a quote from the book on the back, which is, "If I had wings, would you steal them?" He glanced up. Her face was turned from him. She didn't stop, but continued to walk along the fountain's rim. Spray dewed the top of her head, catching in her hair like stars. He knew she meant her question as a jest, yet he gave it serious thought. They'd completed one turn of the fountain before he answered. "If you had wings," he said, with all the sincerity he possessed, "I'd want to see you fly." Okay. If that doesn't tell you where we're headed, the rest of the book certainly will, almost from the very beginning. I'm not going to read you the blurb. I respect your intelligence too much. So, The Floating World by Axie Oh has a worthless map, a worthless pair of maps, in fact. The relative positions of everything on this map do not help you understand how people in some locations are seeing things from other locations. It's nonsense. And then the map of the underworld of the city, also useless, does not help us when we're navigating the city at all. If you are lost at any point during the city navigations trying to figure out where stuff is relative to other things and how they would get this from there, yeah, this isn't going to help you at all. Moreover, in terms of basic world building, it makes no sense. And that is going to be the theme throughout this book. But let's get to the biggest crime. Let's not bury the lead here. Axie Oh has stolen the mineral mithril as what everyone in the underworld is mining. It is what keeps the floating city aloft. It's this big wedge of material coming down like this. City is sitting on top, right? So wedge, city, underworld on the ground. And because the floating city is floating above the stuff on the ground, down here it's very dark. They don't get a whole lot of sunlight. They can see the sunrise and the sunset, and that's pretty much it. The rest of the time, it's very dark. And because even the sky is being blocked out at night, they're not even getting starlight. Like, it's an even deeper pitch black, and that's a big theme throughout. But it is the mithril that keeps the city aloft. First of all, put down Tolkien's toys. They don't belong to you. Number 2, she made the mineral toxic. And if that is not an absolute slap in the face to the man who built the genre in the modern sense, made it financially viable in a way you could not hope to do, Miss Axie Oh, and spit in his face that way, like you have a job, you have the opportunity to write crappy fantasy fiction with shoddy world building because he built this genre. And for you to take what was his and make it toxic and think you're being clever is arrogant and disgusting. I was annoyed from the beginning because her premise is the stuff that keeps the world aloft is poison. Moreover, when we're talking world building, remember, the floating city is floating on a wedge. Floating city, wedge. On the outskirts of the city are towers that run at each corner. So if you were to create a square within that wedged circle, you would have these towers that are used to go up into the mines. They're used to take things, get them high enough into the air that they can use these little floaty ships they have, which zero explanation on how the mithril actually works in the floaty ships and how they are turning it on and off so they can land, how they are going higher, or like there's no science here. She's trying to use them in like science fiction ways without any science. We have these towers on each corner. There is a rumor that the city is sinking. Now, from down on the ground, whether or not they're sinking, that could be just a function of rumor, right? We don't really know how close the wedge is getting down to us. But those towers that are leading up close enough to where it's just a hop, skip, and a jump into the mines, if the city is sinking, those towers come crumbling down, and the distance between tower and floating world would be decreasing significantly in such a way that it would be measurable, it would be quantifiable, it wouldn't just be conjecture. They would be able to make an announcement saying, yes, the distance between the top of these towers and the mines is decreasing by X number every few months or every year. Moreover, they're saying that this is happening because they're mining too much of the mithril and it's getting processed down on the ground, which makes everything down on the ground super toxic and terrible. And yet they're fishing out of the river that runs through the town. When the toxic mithril, because not all of it is going to be lighter than air, when you're processing things, when you're putting smoke out, when there's particulates in the air, some of those particulates are going to get to the ground. They're not all lighter than air. Some of them will be heavier, which means this river is now poisoned, but there's still fishing in it. There's still fish living in that part of the river. There wouldn't be. Not only would there not be fish living in that part of the river that empties into the sea would also be fully toxic, and they'd be seeing the results of that. But that would be inconvenient for the plot, so she doesn't do that. Moreover, they have this great festival where the doors to the city... I gotta find the map. It's so ridiculous. It's so stupid. Okay, remember, city. This is our city. Right here in the middle. That's the sky door. She has labeled it the sky door. But remember, this is what the city actually looks like. The center over the city is the deepest, longest part of the mine. That wedge of mithril that is keeping the city aloft is at its longest there. And yet that's where the sky door is, where they let in the sunlight to the center of the city once a year. And everybody goes and has a little festival, and they all stand in the sunshine, and they're all so happy for a few minutes, etc., etc. That light would last for less than an hour because it would only catch that light while the sun is directly overhead. Because that column, if it's the sky door opens and it's an empty column all the way through the reverse mountain, light's going to bounce off the sides of that. It's not going to get anywhere. So you've got noon. You've got maybe half hour before noon, half hour after noon, midday light. That's it. Moreover, if you had to burrow your way through the center to get this sky door, to have this long channel, there's no way the amount of mithril left over is enough to keep the city floating. Just like volumetrically, it makes no sense. Moreover, because this thing is supposedly crisscrossed with like mining tunnels and all kinds of it's all of these shafts are moving through this thing. At some point, it's going to have become structurally unsound, and the bits of mineral that are not mithril are going to start falling to the ground, none of which is mentioned. Her basic world building is nonsense. It is hot trash. It means that Sun Ho, her intrepid warrior, who, don't get me wrong, I like Sun Ho as a character. He seems like a really good dude. He is unfortunately possessed of a demon. It's, what happens to you. But he is trying his best to be a good man, to be an honorable man. He is a fighter. He is a soldier. He is skilled. I like him. I wish she didn't have him get saved at the end, because female main character, who I could not care two shakes about, ends up finding her wings and dives out of the sky door to catch him as he's falling, and then apparently her wings are just strong enough to carry the both of them, and yeah, I guess magic, whatever. But at this point, I don't care, because she's been so careless with the rest of the world building. She's also clearly pushing a very feminist message, because more than half of the soldiers mentioned end up being female. Like, you want to know why everything's in chaos and the military can't control what's going on in the underside? Yeah, it's because they have an overly feminized force. Same as they are experiencing in the UK today, same as they are experiencing in LA, everywhere that they have turned DEI over to their military, to their police force, to their firefighters, they are seeing a significant decrease in quality of service, in success of saves, in the ability to actually defend people against what is gnarly. So I guess since that's the way she genuinely represented it, it's kind of based, but I don't think that's what she's after. I think she just wants to remind you again and again that women can be soldiers too. It's really aggressive, it's really annoying, and it makes it so that I don't care about their romance at all. I got off track. Back to the towers. Undercity towers, they go up to the high points of the wedge. The climax of the book is Sun Ho, our intrepid soldier that we like very much, deciding he's gotta go save What's-Her-Face from the people who live in the light on the top of the city. And so he climbs a tower. Tower is apparently close enough to the rock that his hook on a rope and, is enough to get him across. But then realize he's not just climbing across to the sky door. He has to climb then, if the world building holds, all the way down to the bottom and all the way back up. There's no flippin' way that works. There's just none. He falls way before he gets there. He is dead. He is exhausted. Even if he does manage to make it to where we think he's supposed to make it, he's not going to be able to stand up and challenge anybody for her safety. He's just going to fall down and die, or be so exhausted he can't be roused for days. He's totally worthless to her at that point. Everything about this story is so insanely convoluted. And I genuinely wondered, is Axie Oh just kind of dumb? Are her books just bad? Because I noticed that she also writes some very tropey, contemporary, based in Korea, because she is Korean, that's, her heritage, super cute YA romances based around K-pop stars. And so after throwing this book across a room and being just furious at a combination of the hubris and the messaging, the other nonsense, I'm like, this cannot be why they're excited about her. It just can't. So I picked up one of her contemporary romances from the library, and it was really cute. It was really adorable. It was exactly what you would want from a tropey YA romance. The circumstances make sense. The meet cutes are adorable. The way the romance progresses over time and the obstacles that get in their way feel really genuine. I feel like I learned a lot about the industry around K-pop stars and the kind of regulations and just, you know, how strict their contracts are, the things they have to agree to in order to live this K-pop star life. And it was really interesting. It was really cute. I liked it. There was one, you know, one of his sisters is gay for why, no reason. Her girlfriend, no, you know, like, it's not a thing in the book. It doesn't do anything for the plot or the character development or anything. It's very tokenistic, which did not surprise me, because apparently the only way Axie knows how to represent gay men, which she does twice in this book. She has two gay male couples that are just throwaway characters, one of which they're too old and feeble to do the repairs on their own house, so they have to have somebody else come do it for them. And the next time, you have a different gay male couple who are cowering in a closet while an attack is happening on the train they're on. And they have a little girl, we would assume their daughter, with them. But still, like, gay men, back me up on this. Even if one of the members of your couple is a little more on the effeminate side and is not the kind of dude who's going to go to battle over stuff, one of you is, because you're both still dudes, which means you hand one of them the kid and say, run, go, get off the train if you have to, keep baby safe. And then the other one runs into battle to protect his family. No. They're both gay, so they've got to be cowards and hiding in a closet somewhere. Like, did you seriously not think about the optics of having two gay men hiding in a closet? This is the problem with tokenistic representation. It does not see these people, as whole people. They are only their identities to be sprinkled in when and how it is convenient for the author. And I find that really disgusting, especially when it doesn't need to be there. You could cut it out completely and it would not change the book one little bit. If you are sprinkling stuff like that in order to check a box, you are doing a disservice to the people you are claiming to represent, and it's gross. Quit it. So here's the deal. If you're going to read Axie Oh, read her contemporary romances. They're cute. They're fun. They would probably get somewhere between a mostly meh and a best beach reads. But girl can't world build worth a dime. Nothing in this book made sense. From beginning to end. Everything it was set upon, all of the structures that it was built around, are nonsense. And no one in the process, not her agent, not her editors, no one said, that doesn't make sense. Or, if there's a way that makes sense in your head, it's not on the page. We gotta fix this. Nobody did that for her. So Axie Oh, I'm sorry, but your editors failed you. You are not a fantasy writer, and just because romantasy is the thing does not mean it needs to be your thing. Stick to your strengths, which are the tropey romances. This is supposed to be a book one in a series, and the book badger will not be reading the next one because it will only continue to be nonsense. Anyway, this gets, I don't know, a dumpster drop in Insidious? I mean, it's obviously trying to shove a bunch of stuff in there that it doesn't really tell you about on the outset. So yeah, this one's got to get an Insidious. And it's... You flipped the bird at Tolkien. Your book gets an Insidious only because people aren't going to know that from the outset. But if you had had the fact that Mithril is toxic in the book blurb, I would give you a straight up dumpster drop because everyone would know immediately this book is worthless. Anyway, that's all the Book Badger has for today. If you've got a book you want to see the Badger take on, feel free to put it in the comments. Till next time, read on, write on, stay sharp.